going to officially call this meeting to order. It is June 2nd. This is a special meeting agenda. It is 7:32 p.m. So let's see. We're going to go out of order tonight since I'm now looking at the applicants for... Wait, hold on. First,
Starting in order.
we're not starting in order, actually. We're going out of order because, well, first of all, we've got, we're going to do a continuation of calendar number 8-2025, the application for 31 Lynn Court. Calendar number 8-2025, that's going to be continued to March.
Actually, you can announce that that's been withdrawn.
That has been withdrawn, I understand. Okay, got it. So we're going to go ahead and start with calendar number 14-2025, 18 Anthony Lane, the application of Andrew Diller and Caitlin Jean Edgar to allow the construction of a second and attic story addition. So what we just need you guys to do, make sure all cell phones are silenced, please. Thank you. And you're going to have to, anybody who wants to talk has to come up to the microphone. Anybody who wants to talk gets a chance to talk. And just state your name for the record if you could, and that way Karen can write it down and proceed when you are ready.
Yeah, is there a way to turn this on?
You asked me that. Do I look technical to you? There is.
There's a button on the back of it.
Do you know?
Yeah.
You actually
I
know?
was here earlier.
I would love that.
Test
Thank
it
you.
out. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know. One of these days we should just figure it out. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Perfect.
That.
Looks like it worked. So, okay, great. Well, good evening. My name is Pat Edgar. I'm the father of Kaylin, father-in-law to Andrew. Kaylin's here. My wife Dawn, who assistant director at Post, is also here. We've been 35-year residents of Darien, been in the town for a long time. We've done several construction projects, including one very similar when we were newlyweds to double, the second, go up with the second story addition. So we're familiar with the process. We're here to help them through it, and we're also very familiar with the Zoning Board of Appeals process. We respect the process and appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks, Pat. Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Diller. I'm a co-owner of the residence at 18 Anthony Lane, along with my wife, Kaylin. First, I wanted to thank the board for the opportunity to present our request. I'll be walking through some of our pages related to the variance this evening, in addition to showcasing some of our site maps to allow the board a full understanding of our proposed addition.
So we're seeking the side variance, if you see on the slide here, we're seeking a setback for...
Can you guys see that okay?
Yes, and I'm looking at it
Can
on
you
my.
pull it up, baby?
What's that?
We have it here also.
Yeah.
Okay, for the, a side setback for 7.8 feet in lieu of the 10 feet. We're basically looking to continue with the current footprint of the existing house and going straight up over that. So the house was built in 1950. That predates the current side setback of 10 feet. The proposed structure is currently legally non-conforming footprint and we plan on basically staying with that footprint, just going straight up. A similar side variance was granted in June of 1981 for the addition of a back family room, if you see that on the slide there highlighted.
That was a one-story.
This is a one-story, and that was a one-story addition to the back. The house is a one-story currently, yep.
So next, just walking through some of the summarized plans we have for our project. We plan the project with the goal in mind to achieve the minimum required adjustment for our addition or our proposed addition, and we are seeking to minimize the building footprint, keeping most of the construction within the existing foundation. So highlighted on the page, you'll find We plan to remove a non-conforming shed in the back of the property, which is approximately 222 square feet. Additionally, we also plan to reduce the size of the front porch by approximately 41 square feet. Then we will also be removing, or plan to remove, a non-conforming chimney on the east side of the property, a reduction of approximately 4 square feet.
Can I just ask quickly, the front porch that you're reducing, is that non-conforming or that's currently?
It's not, it's conforming currently. We're just trying
Yeah,
to,
understood.
we were trying to get to a net zero impact. We almost got there in
Okay,
terms of
understood.
footprint.
Yep. So as you can see, the current structure of the home is an L shape. We'll be extending or proposing to extend the foundation to form a more rectangular shape and foundation of the home. And that expanded footprint, or that additional area, would be approximately 340 square feet. So after considering the elimination of that non-conforming shed in the back, the reduction of the front porch, and eliminating the non-conforming chimney, coupled with the addition of the extension of the foundation, the net impact on overall ground coverage would be approximately an increase of around 100 square feet. So a second story, as Pat mentioned, would track the existing side wall, preserving the non-conforming condition without expanding it. And then lastly, the outside will be updated to a more traditional colonial design to conform with the harmony of the neighborhood. We are trying to accommodate our growing family with a minimum required adjustment to the current structure to allow for our addition, as Kaylin and I are expecting our first child.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's exciting for us, yep. So just wanted to talk through the hardship requirements, and so you have an understanding. It is a unique piece of property. It's got several issues with it. One, the lot size is just 0.23 acres, so it's very small. It's within the 1/3 zoning. The lot is extremely narrow. It's only 60 feet wide. The width of the current house, which is tiny, it's only 950 some odd square feet. The width of that house is 33 feet, so that only leaves 27 feet for both combined setbacks. We looked at it, and the original dwelling, as we mentioned, built in 1950, was built just inside that 10-foot. And on the left, so that was on the east side of the house is where the encroachment is. On the west side of the house, there is a driveway that runs from the front yard all the way to the back to a 2-car garage in the back. And the driveway kind of flares out so you can get into the backyard, into the garage. So you really can't move the house any to the west or to the back. So the only real opportunity is to just go straight up, which is what we're proposing.
Do you know what the zoning regulations are for combined sides?
It's 25.
And-
It's 10, like I
And
think.
it would be 10 and 15.
10 and 15.
And are you just 14.6 on one side? So
We're,
even if you added them up, you're not?
we're
I think
like
18.23.
18 on the side with the driveway.
Yeah.
Because I'm reading it, I thought it said 14.6.
I think
That's
that's to the end of the driveway.
Yeah. This is 18.2 to the house. That's from the
Okay,
side.
so are you, if you did add the two up, I know you're non-conforming on the right-hand side.
Right. You
Combined, you are at 25 plus?
Yes,
Okay.
we're just about 27. Yep.
Right.
60 minus 33.
Right.
Correct. So we kind of showed you that
Yep.
driveway, okay. Yeah, so I think really what we're just trying to say is just go straight up. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so kind of considering the neighborhood and the support we've garnered to date, maybe just a really quick overview of Kaylin and I. Kaylin has grown up in Darien. She went to Darien High School. Kaylin and I have been living at 18 Anthony Lane for the last 5 years, and are looking to make this our long-term home. As mentioned, expecting our first child. We have great friends in the neighborhood and have spoken to several of our neighbors, and they've voiced their support, both verbally and written. We've also obtained, as I mentioned, letters from our neighbors, both the immediate 16 Anthony left to the west and 20 Anthony Lane to the right, the McCormick family and the Robinsons. We've also spoken to the neighbor across the street from us at 19 Anthony Lane, who has also voiced her support. And then lastly here, just our plans to maintain privacy between the two dwellings. As you can see, currently there's bushes and trees along the eastern side of the house. However, we plan to supplement the current plantings with green giants planted across the border. So we've taken kind of careful consideration to ensure the design is in harmony with the neighborhood and minimizes the footprint and maintains consistency with other houses in the neighborhood.
We did note just a few days ago, there were some staff questions that came in, so we wanted to at least address the ones that we thought were relevant to us. The first one was really a question about what would be retained in the existing structure. We plan to retain basically every external wall that is there, except for where that new foundation will be, right? Like the little corner piece. So we'll have all of the exterior walls. The floors will all be kept, both on the first floor. The ceilings will be maintained at this current height, and the ceiling joists will be, beefed up with, more significant joists for the second floor once we do that. But everything, the external walls are staying, and the two front rooms of the house will be substantially the same, the interior walls. So it's really, we're trying to keep as much as we can. So that's that question. The second question, I think, is really to the board, that's out of our control. The next question was one on the chimney. We will be taking down the chimney. We have no problem with that being a stipulation if it needs to be a stipulation, but that's the non-conforming chimney on the eastern side of the house is coming down. And the last question.
So you're not going to use that chimney, or you're going to?
No, we're not going to use that chimney.
Okay.
Yeah, so that'll be removed.
Okay.
And, yep. And then the last part was the patio. The patio, we're planning is just a plain slate patio on the ground. We will make sure that that's inside of the 10-foot setback. So to the extent there was any issue with that, we're just going to push it back in to make sure it's inside.
It's not required to be.
I didn't think it
If
did
it's
either.
grade,
I didn't think it was gonna be
8
grade.
feet is,
if it's
but
on grade, it's not required.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
on grade, and we didn't think it
8
did
feet.
either,
So I
but
wouldn't, give yourself the flexibility,
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
promise
okay.
something that you don't have to do.
that's fine, that's
Yeah.
fine. Okay, that's fine.
And the garage, remind me what's happening with the garage?
That's
Staying the same.
Staying the same.
Staying the same.
Yep,
The
Except
garage,
for the shed on the back being
the
removed.
shed's
Correct.
gone, garage
Yeah.
stays, but the garage is in the setback, but you're not going to touch that. We're just going to leave that be.
right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. so
Total
that's-
coverage when you're all said and done, still less than 20%?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah. It's a net of 68 square feet we added, so it's
Okay.
really, yeah. When we've done all of the things that
Okay.
Andrew walked you through, and we're under the 20%.
Yeah, I think it's 19.3. I think it's on the survey. You can also pull that up.
And do you have room for other, I guess the mechanicals, some are exempt, some aren't, depending on the
Yeah.
size of the
I
mechanicals.
see the AC on here. Was that the only
Yeah.
thing that we need to see
Yeah,
to condense her?
that was, the mechanicals were on the
They're all
drawing. Yeah,
within, okay.
yeah.
Biggest concern this board has is you start messing with this house, it's not as stable as you think it is,
Mhm.
and it falls apart.
Yep,
Technically, what's supposed to happen, Gary, you want to speak to this?
Well, no, it depends, if there's an option to move it, then the
Right.
board might say, since the hardship is the placement of the house, if the house doesn't exist anymore because
Hmm.
the structure isn't
Yeah.
sound, then your hardship
Has
may-
gone away.
May go away, and it might need some adjustment,
Right.
but,
I'm not sure there's much room in
but,
this.
I'm
this,
wondering.
this
Yeah.
situation is different than others we've evaluated.
there's
Where you have
not,
other-
there's
Right.
really not a ton of room, because.
Right, because of the drive and
Because of
the,
the drive. and-
right.
Can we
right.
just, for the record, because I'm bad at math, if the lot is 60 feet wide and you have a 15 and a 10-foot setback on each side, the buildable area is 35 feet. Is that right?
That's right.
For the.
That's right.
And your current home, can you tell me how
33
many?
33. Oh.
Sorry, 33 what?
It's 33 feet wide.
What is 33?
The
Oh,
home
I'm sorry, I
size.
thought you were
Oh,
asking.
the home itself, no.
Yeah.
The current home, what is your total square footage and your bedroom bathroom situation? And
Yeah.
what will be the square footage of your new home and bedroom bathroom situation? So we
Right.
can make a determination about the minimum
So,
adjustment necessary.
so it is currently, there are 2 bedrooms.
Mhm.
The front bedroom is 100% being used as an office, like both Andrew and Kaylin
Okay.
are like 50% working from home. Andrew is also set up in the family room, like zooming in an office. So it's two legitimate offices that need to be, the one will stay the same. The front bedroom is gonna stay as an office. The second bedroom in the back part of the house is just completely coming away. It's gonna become a mudroom and a stairwell. Then you're gonna, upstairs, there'll be 4 bedrooms and 2 baths. And you have downstairs, like the house originally was 1.5
Okay.
baths.
And what is the square footage now, the house?
The
roughly?
house will be approximately 2,500 square feet.
And what is it now?
Oh, I'm sorry, now it's a little shy of 1,000.
Okay.
And will there be a third floor?
No,
And what's the square footage that is being built in the setback on the second floor?
the square footage being built in the setback.
So
on
it's
the-
7.8 and 10, so that's like 2 square
It's like
feet by how long?
2 by, let's see, the length of the house. And maybe you can
Yeah,
see if you
yeah.
can pull that up. Yeah, just.
It looks like it's 42.2.
Yeah.
That's the pad.
Like 90?
I'm sorry, what,
I think it's 42.2.
so,
I think.
so it's
These are plans.
84 square feet.
Right.
Okay,
Guys, nice job.
yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Clear hardship,
Yeah.
clear tug at the emotions with the family time.
Well, We've been waiting for this baby for a
Wait.
while.
Yeah. No, you did a nice job.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Okay.
Matt? Gary?
I'm good.
All right, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application? I see the 2 letters from the neighbors. Thank you for recognizing that. And this will officially close the application. So what we'll do is we'll deliberate tonight, unless there's any reason you guys think to continue. I do not see any reason. Okay, so we have Cloud 10 Car Wash. That may be complicated and a little bit long if you guys want to wait.
Yeah, we'll wait,
Sure.
we'll wait.
Okay, you can
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
Otherwise, we'll call you.
You don't have to
Here.
wait, but
Yeah,
you
you don't
will.
have to wait.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
That's great, thank you. Okay, so on to our next application. Thank you for waiting. We're a little out of order. Want to give you guys some more time. Calendar number 10-2025. This is the application of Cloud 10 Smart Wash to allow the installation of a wall sign. We've been waiting a long time to hear from you guys. Come on up to the podium, please. If you could, anybody who wishes to speak, you just have to come up to the microphone, state your name clearly, and everyone can have a chance to speak.
Do you mind if we just set up our
Take your time, that's great.
Dan is doing it on me, so quicker.
Not too much time.
Not too much time, but take a little time.
We'll do the introductions while Dan is, and congrats to you guys on
Thank you.
the father of a 4-year-old and a sick 5-month-old over this weekend. Hardship.
Keep your distance.
Right, yeah, I'm sorry, I should have worn my
Okay.
mask. I'm sorry, guys. In any event, while Dan is setting up here for the record, my name is Jay Klein. I'm a partner at Carmody, Torrance, Sandak, and Hennessy, our planning and zoning practice group. My associate, Dan Chappell, is here with me as well. We're here tonight on behalf of the Cloud 10 team. Cloud 10 Smart Wash is a locally based, really state-of-the-art car wash company that's established, I think, a dozen locations in the region. Represented here tonight by Brendan Johnson, Michael Asfar, and Jeff Augusta, all Darien residents. We're going to start. Oh, Dan's all ready to rock. Perfect. Thank you, Dan. Just want to give you all a brief summary of the Cloud 10 approval process. You guys, I think, are the 2nd or 3rd board, maybe 4th actually, to see this project. It's something that we're all really excited to deliver. I know we're focused on signage, but I think the site plan itself really informs the hardship that we see when it comes to the question of signage for this site. So Dan, why don't we go to the next slide? I think that shows the site that we're talking about today. The former Bertucci's property. It's over 2 acres in size. The restaurant building is, gosh, I want to say 40 or so feet away from the property line. There are actually a number of pretty healthy mature trees that are along the Boston Post Road frontage here. And when we were preparing a site plan application, which was approved by your colleagues on the Planning and Zoning Commission, our landscape architect, a guy by the name of Matt Pop, said there are a lot of terrific specimen trees that you will want to preserve, that the town will want you to preserve, along this frontage, particularly this tree that I'm pointing to right here. And so that was part of the site plan approval process that came into play. It was a very thoroughly vetted application by the Sewer Commission, by Tighe & Bond, by Hardesty and Hanover, and of course the ARB and the Planning and Zoning Commission that ultimately approved, turning what you see on your screen here, let's go to the next slide, Dan, into what you see on this photo. And why don't we go to the next slide too, Dan? I think that has the site plan. This is a good comparison of, you saw the aerial before, this is the aerial after. You see that really terrific tree that's being preserved, a couple others along the property line. The ARB really wanted us to get creative in maintaining and creating, enhancing a nice lush streetscape along that side of the Boston Post Road. And another part of this site plan approval process, of course, is safety. If you've been to one of the other car washes in town, you know that sometimes, or other facilities in other parts of the state and the region, you know that sometimes cars that are making their way into the car wash kind of spill out and there's queuing onto the post road or the street that car wash fronts on. And that's something that Brendan, Jeff, and Michael didn't want to see on the site. That's something that certainly the folks in the P&Z department didn't want to see happening on the Boston Post Road. And something that when you look at the regulations that govern site plan and special permit criteria in town, require that the Planning and Zoning Commission say when you approve a project, you have to make sure it's safe, particularly in terms of traffic on the roadways leading to a property and internal site circulation itself. And so what all those safety rules required really was taking a building that could be set back, I think it's 30 feet from the property line is what you're allowed to build on this property, which would usually be around here, where you start to see some parking spaces and landscaping, and require it to be set back really an additional 100 feet, so that the building that was approved is 130 feet away from the street line, not almost, I think 100 feet even, on more than what's permitted in the SB zone. Now, that's great because it allows us to stack we don't think that'll ever be an issue for sure. Dozens and dozens of cars on the property. There'll never be any spillover on Boston Post Road. That's a good thing, right? We don't want that on the Boston Post Road, not in this stretch of it at least. That's for darn sure. But when you optimize for safety, there's a cost. There's an opportunity cost associated with that, and that was realized in the form of the signage that could be built on this property. Let's go to the image that you had before, Dan, actually. I'm sorry we're jumping around. I apologize. This is the building, of course, without any signage on it. The Cloud 10 team took a unique in responding to feedback from the ARB, went in a direction that I don't think I've seen any car wash do, and they hired a guy by the name of Bruce Beinfield, who's really known for doing really some spectacular mixed-use, single-family, those types of developments. When I told Bruce that these guys were interested on hiring him, he said, well, gee, I've never done a car wash before, so are you sure you want me? We said, we sure do. And Bruce's vision and partnership with the folks on the ARB led to a unique building that you see here today. Certainly a significant investment above what you typically see for this type of facility. When we were at the ARB, they really encouraged Bruce and the Cloud 10 team to be creative. They encouraged us to think big, especially since this is a gateway property, right? It's on the Norwalk-Darien boundary, not something that's in the heart of downtown. So an opportunity to be a little bit more creative than you otherwise could be, perhaps, in other parts of town. What is interesting, I would say, you see this property, this building without signage, and you kind of wonder, well, what is it? All businesses have wall signage to help identify them, and it looks, quite frankly, incomplete without the sign. And when we were preparing for this meeting, Dan and I were reviewing the recording or the tape from the ARB minutes when we were with them when they were reviewing this project, and they realized that, yeah, this is not your typical building. You're probably going to need a bigger sign than what our regulations allow. And we said, okay. They said, it probably has to be some sort of sculptural element that fits in with this unique building that is atypical for a building in Darien. We said, okay. So we continued to look into that after the site plan was approved, and something that Bruce Beinfield and his team helped us understand was, well, what do the sign regulations allow today? We've been told that this could be a challenge. What are we in for with what the signage regulations allow? As of right, I'll say. So Dan, why don't we go to that image? I think we have that. Oh, should have mentioned, let's show, this is just another cool feature. This is a solar flower that'll be on the site, in addition to the municipal departments that reviewed this project. The Darien Land Trust actually was really actively involved in the process, and Cloud 10 really did a terrific job of engaging those folks and getting their input, and that led to really cool features in the project, like this solar flower, a bioswale, and other features. But back to signage. This is what the regulations allow today. It's a 48 square foot sign. I saw some of you squinting. I squint even though I'm closer than you all. And quite frankly, it's impossible for me to make out entirely what that image is stating. But even if you can read it, I think we can all agree that the sign that the regulations allow is simply not in scale with the building that was approved, and that, again, when you're optimizing for safety, is what this site demands. And quite frankly, I don't know if we brought this sign, if we didn't seek your approval for a variance, if we brought this image to the ARB, I think they'd tell us, guys, we want our signs to be in scale with the buildings. This does not comply. You got to try again. You got to think of something else.
Was signage not part of the package that went to ARB?
ARB did see the sign that we want to build, a larger sign. This is what you're right. This is what if the variance is denied, this is the sign that we can have on the property. So that is what happens if there's a denial tonight.
And what are the additional, I mean, I know, but have you considered the other signs that you're allowed to have on the property to identify?
Like a monument sign on the road?
Yes, we have considered those, but in Darien, you're allowed to have both, right? It's not an either or, it's an and. So I think certainly we haven't designed the monument sign that we would consider for this site yet, but other businesses are allowed to have both. And
so your argument, though, or position is that the sign should be larger, not to identify the property, and people have come before us and said they need to identify the property, it's set back. You won't otherwise know until you drive beyond it. But you're going to put a monument sign on, so your customers will identify that building as the car wash that they're intending to go to.
That will help identify it.
Yeah.
I think the wall sign, it's wall signage and ground signage that helps.
But your argument is really aesthetics.
It's aesthetics and identification. I didn't get to the identification part yet, but I
think you did.
You did, yes, exactly. And that's really another piece of this too. When we talk about why we optimize the site for safety, part of the, as I think Mr. Green was getting to, part of the reason why is that this is a pretty difficult stretch of the Boston Post Road most times a day, right? If you go there during rush hours, if you're there on the weekends, and certainly as Wegmans opens up, as Walmart opens up, as all those other facilities continue to grow on the Norwalk side, it doesn't get any safer, this stretch of town, so we really want to make sure that we have as much visibility as possible to help improve the safe operation of this property. So why don't we go to the next slide, Dan? So there are two images that we're showing you here right now, and it's hard to tell the difference between the two of them. The one on page left is you are seeing a hypothetical where the building is 30 feet away from the post road. So it's as close to the post road as it's allowed to be. And it features a 48 square foot sign. That's as big as you can build under the regulations. That's the as of right sign. That is impossible to identify on the building that's demanded for this site. This is what you'd be allowed to build without any variance approval. And on the right side, you see the sign that will result through the approval of the variances before you tonight on the building that's 130 feet away from the building. You can't tell the difference, at least I can't. And perhaps where I'm standing, this one looks ever so slightly smaller. There's no difference between how the eye perceives those signs. Sign that's permitted as of right on a building that's 30 feet away, as is allowed in the SB zone. A larger sign that's 129 feet away.
You mess up the proportions because the building looks the same size.
Yeah, the sign is what's operative here. And in this, of course, the parking lot would be behind the building, not in front of the building, but it's the sign that's operative in this image. So I think that speaks to, there was one of the questions that staff posed to us, well, this seems like a maximum hardship, not a minimum hardship. I'd say it's not, because the visual impact of an as-of-right development versus a variance approval, there's no difference in what a passerby or a driver-by sees. So this is not going to be an obtrusively large sign for folks that drive by. why don't we go to the next slide, Dan? And this is just the image with the building set back 130 feet. Again, much better in terms of visibility, safety, wayfinding, and just proportionality with the project that was approved here. And, with the setback of the building, the street trees that are being preserved, this isn't a gaudy or obtrusive sign that, we wouldn't want here in town. I think there were another,
And so there will eventually be, as part of the signage package or signage design, a monument sign?
yes, there will be a monument sign. That's our intent to have.
Didn't ARB look at the monument sign plan?
No, we haven't filed anything formal with the ARB at this time.
What is the plan, to proceed to them after?
Yes. I mean, we want to understand what our wall signage rights are, and then that'll help inform the ground sign. But again, if the, this is not, I think, what's being said, but, if the rule was, well, you get either or, you don't get both, then that would be in the regulations. But of course, the regulations allow for both, and we think that.
Well, then too, but whatever you're gonna propose for a monument sign will be consistent with the regulations regarding monument signs.
Yes.
You're not gonna come before us and say, now I want
No.
some type of variance for the monument sign.
No, you can always do that.
Correct.
If you want that to be a condition of
And
approval.
then tell me, and I apologize if it's the applicant, tell us about, so it's on the record, how is this sign gonna be constructed and illuminated?
Do we have the cut sheet of that, Dan? So we have, if you look, it's page 8.54. It will be backlit, halo lit, so that was something that Fred, Jeremy, and Woody, and I think honestly the folks on the ARB too, said that's a must-have. That's not a like-to-have. That's something that we need to do. I'm not seeing the materials on here.
But Halo answers the question.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Guys, if you went to planning and zoning for their approval of the project itself,
Mhm.
why didn't you present the signage and seek their approval for the sign also?
Well, we did show the image with the sign, with this sign or something similar to it on it. P&Z couldn't approve that sign because it's larger than what the regulations allow, so.
So you didn't seek an amendment to the zoning?
No, we did
text
not
or-
seek an amendment to
Any
it.
reason why?
Yeah, honestly, we spoke to staff and said, hey, should we amend it? Should we seek a zoning amendment or should we seek a variance? And this is a unique situation, large property, building that's set back to address these various safety concerns. Feels like it should be a variance, something that's applied to a specific and unique situation rather than a townwide change that
Yeah,
could
and I get that at
metastasize.
some level, and frankly, I like the look of it. I think it looks better probably in more context with the sign there, but as you know, as your application, that we have the state law that we have to abide by in granting a variance, and I guess your articulated unique thing about your property is that you were forced to set it back further than you would have wanted to? Is that,
Well,
that's the hardship?
Yeah, I think, we above all safety, right, there's nothing above safety, I would say. And so when the hardship is imposed by the site plan and special permit standards that govern building location, the safe operation of roadways and internal traffic flow. And when you put all of those, when you combine all of those factors, in addition to the landscaping preservation that we're proposing and that was approved as well, all those factors result in a building that is set back to provide that internal queuing capacity to avoid any adverse traffic conditions. And that comes at a cost, meaning that any signage will not be as visible
Yeah.
from the street.
And I'll circle back to safety, and I get your point on that. I don't know if it's fully persuasive, but as you know when you wrote in your application, the second part of the test is that hardship, that unique thing about your property or your building has deprived you in substantial justice in the use of your property.
Mhm.
How is not being able to have a larger sign deprive you? Put aside the safety issue for a second.
Sure.
How does that deprive you of substantial justice in the use of your property?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I think when you go back, Dan, why don't we show this image of the sign without the variance? I mean, to have, oh, you had it before, not the solar flower, this one, perfect. To have an invisible wall sign is to rob you of a property right. I mean, every property owner, I'd say, has a right to wall signage.
But there'll also be a monument sign, right?
Yes.
And that's not
Yes.
where I would put that one. you wouldn't put it that low. You
Well-
could probably get a variance to make it a little higher.
That's one of our variance requests,
Yeah.
to put it higher.
Yeah,
It-
but,
you- that-
so you haven't shown what a compliant sign would be in a higher location.
If that's something that you'd be interested in seeing as a.
I would, and I'd also like to see comparisons to other businesses in our town, Stop and Shops and other things that were Cosmo, what's setback in,
Yeah, I guess that's it. I think,
Cosmo is setback,
what are some light cases where they're
Sure.
100 foot further back?
Yeah.
Because, look, honestly, I actually think there's a value to setting back from the roadway. I do,
Yeah.
but like, what's another case in town that has that same
Mhm.
situation, and how did they make the signage work? I don't.
that's so comparing
Sure, yeah.
to other situations in town would be helpful to me.
Sure, absolutely. We'd be happy to take a look at that if that'll, I know the one that we looked at, and Woody kind of put it to us too, is the Trader Joe's site, excuse me. That site is a little bit closer. It's closer to 100 feet than we are, where we're a little bit over, but that presents, there's not as much street tree activity along the Trader Joe's
Does
site.
Trader Joe's comply?
I don't know if they comply, but it's quite close. And we can look at the zoning history for that site. Perhaps they received some sort of
And I
variance
think
approval in the past.
when Stop and Shop was in the Roten Heights, I thought they applied for a variance.
Actually, the one in Good Wives, New
Was it Good
Market,
Wives, the one
whatever
it
it
is?
is.
That's right, yeah.
Well, they had the basket design,
Right,
but they since, and that was a relatively modest increase in size.
right,
That building's 250 feet from the road or something.
right.
And there's on the safety point, I mean, the good news is, what the case law says is, even if we don't find a hardship because either it's not unique enough or you're not being deprived of substantial justice and use of your property, if we find a safety reason to grant a variance, that can override that. So that's
Sure.
good news, but to the point that they were touching on earlier, I get your argument about safety, which is we need people to see it so they're not searching around and distracted. But isn't that argument diminished by the fact that you're separately gonna put some monument sign there that will be obvious to anyone coming up or down the post road?
No, I don't think it's diminished. Again, you're entitled to have both, and I believe the fact that you're allowed to have both in the regs is a presumption that both are necessary or helpful, certainly, to optimizing wayfinding and safe passage and things of that nature. So I would say that the ground sign, again, it's not an either-or proposition, at least.
Understand
And I know
that.
you're not saying that, but that's.
But, and I would likewise say, your argument that the passage on that part of the post road is slow,
Mm.
that undercuts your argument, because
Yeah,
if things are
sometimes
moving
it's-
slower,
yeah.
you can identify buildings
Well,
more quickly, but.
There are also there are times where it's not slow and it's unsafe,
Yeah.
which is more difficult.
Sorry, I would have argued it's
Yes.
Sure.
State your name for the record, please.
Brendan Johnson, I'm the co-founder of the company. I just want to clarify one thing. The safety aspect is due to the fact that we put the building way in the back
No, we
for the
understand.
queuing. It's not so people can see it.
No, but what, I think your council did a good, because of that, the visual impact of a compliant sign is diminished because it's set back so far.
Yes,
Right.
In order to achieve the safety goal of not having cars queuing on the road.
correct.
You got that?
And then, can I have a non-legal conversation? I know exactly where you guys are going. You need to check boxes in order to grant a variance. I'm a resident, my partner's are residents, majority of our investors are residents here. We were pleasantly surprised when we met with the ARB about the design of the building. I'm assuming, I said to Bruce, make it look like the Apple Store, but put Nantucket shingles on it, because I know how this town works. And the ARB actually went the other way and said, again, to our surprise, you've got artistic license. It's on the Norwalk border, it's a gateway, have some fun with it. What I don't want, and this is a non-legal argument, so you're not gonna grant it based on this, that's gonna look like a Verizon data center or a switch center if it's not proportionate. It's an artistic argument, not a legal hardship, and I know that has nothing to do with this.
So let me ask you a business question. Why does it have to be so tall? It's a car, it's the mechanical
We didn't have it that
aspects?
tall. We went back and forth and back and
Really?
forth. It slanted because it's supposed to look like the Getty Museum or something like
Is that just dead space then on
That's
that
dead
top of the
space.
angle?
It's very, very,
It's not
very
required for the
expensive.
mechanicals of a car
No,
wash.
it's very expensive aesthetics.
It looks a little bit like a garage I've been seeing built.
That's why we're on this, that's why
It's
we're on
the same-
ZBA, not.
It's the same panels you'd see on the outside of Franklin Museum or a Mercedes dealership or something. It's extremely expensive, and we don't need to slant it, but from an artistic perspective, I don't want to be called the Verizon switching guy, building owner.
Yeah, and I agree. I said I like the look of it, and if we had just free reign to
Yes.
vote what we like.
The ARB has more of that than we do.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that, but the safety issue is all about getting back as far as you can so that no one ever is going to call us and say, hey, the traffic's backed up.
Right.
Yeah.
That,
So we'll let you
I-
take
I-
the
it's
legal
okay.
aspect of it.
Honestly, though, I did miss the nuance of that safety point, so.
No, but that's
thanks
it.
for
It's like,
clarifying.
that's what he was saying. It's
It's
like
not
you're
to
trading.
see the sign from the road,
Right.
it's, I get it.
Yes.
it's less so the the
I-
driving, it's more
It's further
reducing
back.
queuing on the road.
That's right, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I won't name it, other places that you go, you're waiting in the post road, and that's a bad thing, that's a bad thing, right?
So I guess if we need a little bit more information, right? We should probably continue this and see a monument.
Yeah, let's see, we'd like to see your monument.
I know you guys
plans.
want to get this done,
Okay.
right?
No, we wanna, yeah, work with you on
I
this.
personally like to see a comparison of other things in town.
I kind of would too.
Okay.
And then, I don't want to be Solomon, but are there any options? Because it does have to be the minimal adjustment necessary, so you're not coming here saying, I want 100 feet of something, square feet of something. So are there any things that we should consider and then perhaps rule out because it doesn't make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you could throw a monument, I'd like to see the monument placement.
Okay.
And I do think from a safety perspective, I'll throw this in, like, when you're driving down, you see a Trader Joe's, like, that's a franchisable business, so you kind of know what a Trader Joe's looks like. No one knows what this is, so it's gonna need some additional identification. So I think that works in your favor. I probably shouldn't say that, but I think, like, that's good. I commend you guys for taking your time and working through the process. We're not trying to be frustrating. I think we're getting together, when again?
The 21st, perhaps.
21st perhaps, so you've got, if you can move kind of quickly, we could see something.
That's a Saturday.
No, it must be the 18th.
I'm sorry.
18th?
Must be able to get my.
I'm not coming on
It's not
Saturday.
No, heck no.
We'll be
Okay.
here then too.
We are dedicated volunteers.
I will not be
Yeah.
here.
And give you- like, I think,
We'll figure it out.
yeah, because Kevin's right, like, what we're trying to do here, we've got to clearly define the hardship and from a state standpoint, make a minimum adjustment, the minimal adjustment. So if you can show us some examples, like, look, we tried, like, this is the minimum, but this just doesn't work from a safety standpoint. You know where we're headed.
Yes, yeah, no,
Okay,
yeah,
and
we're
then show us where the
yeah.
monument's gonna go. Show us the whole proposal.
Okay, that's terrific.
Can I suggest something too?
Yeah.
Your two images, the side by side of the building 30 feet back and the wall sign, and then the other building 130 feet back.
Sure.
Do it right, okay? Do it in proportion accurately.
I think that,
So the building would look
actually,
really
I
tall.
probably
I like
shouldn't
that.
say this either, that's probably gonna help. I
Yes.
think that
I
could
think
help.
so too.
Yes.
Right, because,
Yes.
right.
I agree with
Because
that.
now you have this big building, 30 feet, that's
Right.
it's not gonna be in the background of the
Right.
rendering or.
Right.
That's
you
right.
know.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
it could help you.
That's a
Yeah.
great point. We'll have that ready.
And the other option Matt brought up, I mean, 15 feet, like a sign has to be 15 feet by regulation. But if we gave you an exception, maybe the sign is smaller, but it's higher up. So we gave you a variance on that. That's another
Right,
option.
which they are asking
So I
for,
think
yeah.
we want to see those
See some options.
options,
Okay.
right? Is that what you're thinking, Matt?
Kept the trees.
Yeah, oh, that's a good, well.
Kept the trees, we love trees.
You can't see it with the trees.
Yeah.
But do those renderings.
Right.
My
Yeah.
suggestion is do
Oh,
renderings
fine.
to
Yeah.
demonstrate your point.
Yes, yeah. No, I think because
Because
there
the more
are,
evidence that we see to demonstrate your point, I think the easier it.
Because it sets
It
precedent
is.
for us too. Like if somebody
Right.
says like, well, wait a minute, you approved those car wash guys last year. Like we need like a case to be like, yeah, but look, like these were the options we went through. It
Right.
helps
No,
us make an argument.
I think it's similar to,
Very
the
loud
process
there.
with the ARB, and it led to, I think, a really great result, so.
Yeah.
And it's, like the ARB doesn't have the same legal
Right, it's a different.
constraints that.
It's all
that-
design.
That I can
100%.
talk to.
Yeah.
I could just ask your timing, what's your next steps and when would you want to break ground and do you own the property, et cetera?
Do you,
We broke ground.
Okay.
You wanna come on up?
I'm sorry.
Give us
How'd you get
an
away
update?
with that?
Demo started 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
The permits, will be submitting for permits in about 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
So hope to start going vertical early July.
So this is.
So you're committed to this
Yeah.
despite.
I'm committed to this. I just, again,
They wanna
I
do
don't
it
want to
right.
be the data center.
Yeah, no,
And
it
is this a
shows a
one-year-
commitment to the town though, too.
Yeah.
That's.
Is this a one-year construction project, or what is it?
I'm hoping 9 months. If I'm wrong, it'll probably be 10 months. We
So-
found about just every problem you can imagine in that plot of land. We think it was a dumping site when they built I-95.
For pasta?
If only.
I'm waiting to find an old
Yeah,
Model T in there.
It's so awful.
There's, yeah, I mean, there's DOT easements that ran through us, there was a lot of ongoing back and forth with the state, but I think to Brendan's point, and I think probably because it's a hometown operation for him, you know, we want this done right, so if, you know, some more time invested with you all to get the signage right, I really think that's a great opportunity for us.
I have one more suggestion, if you
Yes,
don't
William.
mind. There's a whole lot of equipment that you're gonna have forward of the building, right? All the vacuum stations and whatever they're called.
It's just the booms, everything else is hidden.
The booms, what are
They're
those?
they're not what you're used to. They're very large turbines that are hidden, and they've got mufflers on them, and you won't hear them. So they're
I mean, all the things that are in the parking area in the front of the
yes,
building.
you just have the vacuums. They're in the front. They're on a boom.
Those.
Yeah.
The hoses are there, the mechanics are behind.
Mechanics are hidden, seen but not heard.
So those are gonna be pretty visible, aren't they?
But that's all as of right, right?
Yeah, that's all,
Yeah.
that's not signage, that
But
was.
I think what he's saying is that you
Anybody gonna
know
be
what the
confused
site
what
is
the place
because you
is?
see these vacuums.
Oh,
but
you're saying that,
It gives the hints to the driver by that that's the site.
Did you guys consider what Whole Foods did with their signage? Having like the internal sign
Internal sign.
with the glass, exposed that way?
That's feasible.
does that get you around the regulation?
Kind of
Yeah.
does, yeah.
It did for them. They found a loophole.
I mean, like, if you could have a big panel of glass and have that,
I love that idea. I think here I'm caught between
ARB.
Going
and-
back to
ARB,
ARB.
land bank, zoning, save the trees,
Yeah.
put it back.
And by the way, no one is all that happy that
What's
Whole
that?
Foods did that, but they're not a hometown business, so they may not care.
I again, non-legal conversation. I think it looks better the way it is this is not necessarily about what is this, or go to us for someone else. We're gonna get the customers in because if history's any guide, this will probably be the best car wash you guys have ever been in, ever. Because of what we're putting inside mechanically. This is more about, the analogy I used with Jay was, this is like inviting Michael Jordan in a brand new tuxedo to the White House State Dinner, and he's got a giant ketchup stain on his tuxedo. It just doesn't, and I know that doesn't check the legal boxes, and we're gonna give you all we hear you loud and clear about the precedents, but we just want it to look right, because I'll never hear the end of it,
We do too. We totally do.
so,
So you're doing a nice job.
thank you.
One other, so I know we'll be coming back, Dan's been taking notes on what we'll be getting to you all. We do just need to continue it to a specific date, just to keep that chain that we've been
Okay.
building. So I don't know what date, what you said, the 18th, I think it was?
Yeah, I think it would be the 18th. Today's the 2nd, so it would be the 18th.
18th of this month, or you can bump to July, and then I don't think we meet in August.
Correct.
You all tell us what the date, I just want to make sure we say a date on the record, because that's another state, we have to say the date and time and location before
Say
we.
the 18th, and if we have to
Okay.
postpone to get
Yeah, if
you
you're
Okay.
not
guys
ready
back.
for the 18th, then you can go
We can kick
till
it again.
the following month, which is,
Okay.
he'll tell you if you
Yeah.
can't make that.
Okay, but unless otherwise, we'll continue this to Wednesday,
That-
June 18th.
Okay,
Yeah.
Wednesday, June 18th at 7:30 PM here in room 206 at Town Hall, Darien Town Hall.
regularly scheduled meeting.
Regularly, perfect. Thank you so
Great.
much, everyone. Really
Thank
appreciate
you for your
time and your
Thank you,
thoughts.
guys.
Thank you all very much.
Is there anyone that wishes to be heard on this
yeah,
hearing,
sorry.
though, before we close this? You're all
We're
good?
not closing
Any
it.
neighbors gonna
No, we're
We're not
protest?
closing it.
Okay. We're not till we continue? Okay, we're gonna continue this hearing until July 18th.
June.
June 18th, I'm sorry, oh my God. Till
Oh,
June
sorry.
18th, thank you.
Most of the neighbors wrote letters of support for us in the beginning.
Right,
our neighbors around us.
yeah. The other two car washes are really excited about it.
They're not happy at all.
I'm surprised they're not here.
Some exceptions. Hey, thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so then what we're gonna do tonight is we're going to deliberate on Anthony Lane. So thank you for waiting. All right, you wanna start?
Me? Sure. It sounds like there is a clearly articulated hardship with the property, given that it's 0.23 acres in a third acre zone. The buildable area is 35 feet wide. The property was built prior to the zoning code, including a 10-foot setback on the side yard that is applicable here. The current house is a 2-bedroom house of about 1,000 square feet, and they're seeking to increase that to a 4-bedroom house at about 2,500 square feet. Appears to me that there is an articulated hardship and that the requested relief would be the minimum adjustment necessary to get them to a home that is reasonable by today's standards.
Yeah, just to add to that, the specifics is, you wrote down the number.
84 square feet.
Roughly 84 square feet of that 2,000, of the additional 1,000 being added.
And reducing other nonconformities, the shed in the back, although I think the 221 square feet was probably, some of it was okay by the setbacks, only a partial was over the line, but still they're reducing nonconformities there. The chimney, which was very minor.
What struck with me is if the house does fall down, you're gonna put it back in the same place.
They could come to us for a variance and we probably would grant it
Yes.
anyway, no matter where in the lot they.
Because of the size of the lot.
Because of the size of the lot, because of where the driveway
Driveway
is
is.
and all that stuff. So
There's
I
no,
don't
unlike
see-
other houses, just to
Right.
kind of distinguish this from other applications that we've heard with that consideration is, it's not a big lot with an obvious place to put
Right.
a properly sized house.
Yeah,
Right.
some of those other situations, instead of having, I don't know, 4 feet on the other side of the
Right.
property to build, they had 20 feet over there,
Right,
and
exactly.
we were,
We're constrained.
they're constrained on the other side also, so.
And they still have the side plus side is more than 25, so they're not cramming a big house
Mhm.
into looming over both neighbors, and they're within their right as of coverage, so.
And the neighbor on that side wrote a letter of support.
And it's consistent with changes we're seeing for the positive throughout the town and converting older houses into newer ones that are more in context.
Love it.
So
Matt?
I would,
I know she's from here. You guys said it.
Matt loves to go last.
That agree?
I mean, I'll add to, I feel like they went on, above and beyond with making concessions with even like the porch. I wouldn't even thought that they would have to do that, so.
So
Or,
true.
and the chimney too, like, that wouldn't have been a stipulation, they had to get rid of the chimney, so.
So in theory, they're reducing the nonconformity on that side of the house, because the closest point is now further away with the reduction, with the removal of the chimney.
Smart.
How
Woody?
about what they're gonna preserve? What do we do with that?
But Woody, we've addressed that,
Yeah.
because this is a different situation than,
So if they tear it all the way down, that's okay.
where are they going? There's
Well,
not
no,
this
we're not-
obvious
well,
big
no,
part on
we're-
this house.
We're not saying that's okay.
No,
We're,
but-
we're saying in this situation where there is not much, there's hardly any space on the other side either. If they did, if for some reason they, it sounds like the dad's a builder, if he opens the wall up and there's termite damage, he's gotta take some of it down, we'd probably let him build it back there in the same place anyways.
But what's the condition of approval? That they're keeping
No,
foundation or
I don't
first
know.
They
floor?
said they were. They're
Yeah,
keeping the
and I'm not-
foundation, they're keeping the walls, they're keeping the floors. The
Oh.
first floor is structurally sound. Do we not want you to stipulate that? You don't care?
no, because there's not much room on the left-hand side to eke out because of the driveway. This is a different situation where I personally don't think that
That we need to
stipulation is
stipulate that.
necessary in this case.
The only thing that I would say is that we always put that stipulation in.
With that, if it comes down, you have to come to it.
No, that
Come
the
to us?
structure should be preserved. They came and they made the presentation that they were preserving all that structure.
So all
We
you're
should-
saying is if it isn't, they should come back to us.
Yeah, now, obviously, that's a different story, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Technically,
we
that's
always
what we
put
do,
that in.
because
They committed to doing it. I
because
don't,
then
s-
Gary,
I
the
don't see the
hardship has gone
downside
away.
of putting it in there.
Isn't that technically what we're supposed to do? The
Well,
hardship has gone
we've
away.
also
Maybe
had
not
the
in this
requirement-
case.
We've also had the requirement to get a structural engineer to verify what they told us. And we had that happen in Middlesex Road recently, and I know they're working on that right now.
Yeah.
So had it happen
What
at
do
a
you
problem Old Stone place.
I don't care, on this one.
I really do think that some of them are, some of these existing conditions that are going to be preserved are different than others, right? And it has to do with, it's just that they have 35 feet to build in on the lot, right? From a width standpoint.
Okay, so if they get into it structurally, there's issues, they have to come back. They have to preserve foundation, walls, floor, as they said.
Yeah, whatever, that's what
They
we
said
do.
ceiling too, and then they're gonna add new ceiling joists over there, because that's what they said.
Oh, that one doesn't bother me as much. That, if the 12-inch, floor joists or 10-inch floor joists come out and that part of the top comes off, that doesn't bother me as much as when, we get pictures from neighbors of the entire wall that was supposed to be preserved down, right? Like, I don't wanna make it more difficult on a builder to keep the size joist there than just replace.
If you guys don't care, might as well stipulate it
But so you're stipulating that they maintain the foundation and what?
in the walls.
In the walls.
But I think there was testimony, they're not maintaining all the walls anyway. There was.
Well, he's gotta tie in the new house at the back, yeah, I mean, it's actually probably more honest than anybody else that's ever come in that's had to tie in at corners or where they know they gotta take it down, it's just kind of assumed, it was actually pretty honest, like, oh yeah, this corner I'm gonna have to take down.
Yeah. Okay, Gary, you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Matt, you good?
Sounds good.
Okay, somebody wanna make a motion? I'll make a motion to approve with the what,
Yeah, the way,
the way he said it, with
Yeah.
the stipulation that we're
With
preserving.
preserving the existing structure, the foundation and the walls inside the setback.
It's not
Just when we say the
intense.
wall, I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
I presume there are plans that have been submitted that show which walls are staying and which are going. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely, the plans were in there.
I'm not sure.
I didn't look at the dashed versus undashed lines.
There are plans in there, yes.
I would say consistent with the plans, right, because some walls are
Yeah.
coming down.
It was I think it's in the Word document.
I didn't print all the plans, but yes. Okay. Basically, like, if any of the walls come down or the foundation needs to be altered, they have to come back in front of the board.
No, but not any of the walls, right? I think we're saying consistent with the plans. If any walls that are in the plans need to come down, then they have to come back, I think is what you're saying, because some walls are coming down.
Okay. Yes, I like that.
The plans clearly depict which walls on the first floor are new versus which walls are existing. So,
Okay. You're comfortable with it?
and I actually don't see there being the issue in the corner that I was thinking there was, but yeah, I mean, they're showing the walls that are new and the walls that are, it's very clearly depicted, so.
Okay.
The board made a motion to approve with that stipulation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you so
A
much.
baby and new walls.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Yeah. Okay, other business. So this is on to the non-public part of the meeting.
Thank you.
So quickly, let's do approval of the minutes from April 28th. Those went out today. So everybody saw those?
I did not look at them.
You did not look at those. I looked at those and approved them. Did anybody else?
Want to check them out, or?
You feel comfortable approving them without looking at them?
Given those ones,
No,
I did not get a chance to.
Okay.
If you want me to vote on them, I would, because that was fairly important. Have we heard anything since? Well,
Yeah.
okay, so if you want me to
Wanna look
vote,
at
then
'em?
I would like to look at them carefully.
Yeah, let's delay it then.
Okay.
Okay.
Review of town council regarding enforcement of ZBA stipulations and approved plans.
I think we gotta kick that.
I think we gotta kick that too. Gary and I are working on some things
That's
there.
not ripe yet.
Same with the next one, general discussion of application materials. No, that's something maybe I could talk to you about offline, like how to clean up application
Yeah,
materials and
sure.
some of that. I would love your opinion on that.
Take that and get all the confidential information out of there from 18 Anthony Lane and start sending it out.
Yeah, they did a great job. Really?
Cover letter, table of contents.
Really good. Okay, and then there's nothing else. That's really all I've got unless you have anything, Woody.
Well, I'm just concerned because I think Anthony Lane was a good example of property that, yeah, deserved a variance if they're keeping that existing structure.
Yeah, but
But they have plenty of room that
they
could
don't
build a
really have
replacement
plenty of
house,
room on the left-hand side. And it's so, we're talking about such a small,
whatever it is.
yeah, but we're talking about such a small variance. Even if the walls came down, the foundation is there. To make them move the foundation 2.5 feet to achieve a savings of, I keep forgetting the number, 80 feet?
84 square
84
feet.
square
84.
feet? Doesn't make sense to me.
What would happen though is if someone was to tear it down,
But a lot of these,
they'd be expected to
But
move it
I'll-
over and probably have a 2-car front-facing garage. And with that wide a lot, there is plenty of room to do that. They would
Deep
probably
lot.
eliminate
It's
the
not a
garage.
wide lot, it's a deep lot.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so they would design a replacement.
Yeah, you have to design a different house. Yeah.
So that's the challenge with these things.
but if that's what they were proposing, if they wanted to knock it down and do the front-facing house, you know, there's one on Holmes Avenue, the one they built pretty close to the road that has that, with the long hallway beyond the garage into the living space. Then they'd come, you know, if that's what they wanted, and they were taking down the garage in the back, so you didn't need the driveway to get to the garage, that's a different application. Maybe we tell them to put it in the building envelope. But that's not what this proposal is.
Yeah.
And we're talking about 84 square feet.
It's a big makeover, it's gonna be a big difference from a cape to a 2.5 stories.
And it's gonna look better.
It is.
Right.
And this is as good as it gets. I mean, they gave up stuff they didn't need to give up.
Yep, okay.
No? I liked it.
Yep.
All right,
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Third. We're all in favor. Okay, 8:34. We're out of here. Thanks, guys. All right, so 2 weeks. We're up 2 weeks and 2 days.